I was born and raised out here in West Texas, where the land stretches so far you feel like the sky is leaning down to shake your hand. For the last 12 years, I've called 600 acres of dust, mesquite, cattle, and freedom my home. My ranch sits a mile off the main road, tucked behind two ridgelines and a creek that only flows in spring, and it's been my sanctuary. I've got cattle, a couple of horses, a porch swing that creaks like an old friend, a wife who still makes my heart skip when she laughs, and two kids who'd rather climb a tree than pick up a phone. Everything about this life, our well, our gravel road, our fence, it's all ours, paid for, maintained, lived in. No one else has a claim to it, and that's exactly how I like it. I'm not a man who hates people. Truth is, I like people just fine. I just like space, and I like knowing that when I sit on my porch at dusk with a cup of coffee, the only eyes on me are the ones God put in the heads of deer and hawks. For a long time, that belief held steady. Then she showed up. I didn't know her name at first, but I came to know it real well. Karen Whitmore, president of the HOA down the valley. See, about 2 miles away, a development called Sunset Hills popped up like a pastel rash on the land. Rows of cookie-cutter houses, lawns trimmed to an inch, and a pool they treated like the second coming. We never had much to do with them. They weren't in our zoning district, weren't on our water lines, weren't part of our world. But one morning I found a glossy envelope in my mailbox. No stamp, hand-delivered. Inside was a letter welcoming me to the neighborhood and inviting me to begin discussions about integration into the community framework. Integration. Like I was applying to join a country club. I laughed out loud, shook my head, and wrote back short and polite. Thanks, but no thanks. My land is private, sovereign, not under your jurisdiction. Kindly leave me out of your plans. I figured that was the end of it, but it wasn't. A week later, a county inspector rolled up, muttering about a report that I might be illegally diverting creek water. A few days after that, the state environmental agency popped by, waving a complaint about unauthorized land grading. Then, like clockwork, I got a surprise property tax reassessment. All of it baseless, all of it exhausting. That's when it hit me. This wasn't random. This was pressure. Someone didn't like that I'd said no, and they were going to keep pushing until I broke. Now, I may live out here with cows and coyotes, but I'm not stupid. I knew the war hadn't really started yet. What I didn't know was just how far it was going to go, or how fast it would get personal. It began with a sound, a low hum, mechanical, barely noticeable over the wind brushing through the mesquite. My daughter, Ellie, was the first to spot it. She came running into the barn one afternoon, breathless, eyes wide. "Daddy, something's flying over the house." At first I thought maybe a hawk, maybe a hobby drone some kid got for Christmas. But when I stepped outside and shaded my eyes, I saw it, a black quadcopter mid-size with a camera rig that looked professional, expensive. It hovered dead still, no more than 100 feet above the porch. Not over the public road, not over neutral sky. Right on my land, looking straight down at us. I waved my arms like I was shooing off a mosquito the size of a microwave. But it didn't move, just kept hovering, quiet and creepy. After 5 minutes, it drifted away toward the hill. I thought maybe it was a one-off. I was wrong. The next morning, the hum was back. Same spot, same altitude, same heavy feeling of eyes watching. I stepped outside shirtless with a cup of coffee, scowling at it while my boy Luke froze mid-step with a feed bucket, staring at it like a UFO. That evening it came again, lower this time, drifting past the barn, then toward the side of the house where Ellie's window was cracked open. That's when my wife, Sarah, put her foot down. She crossed her arms, her voice sharp enough to cut wire. "They're watching us, Zach. You need to find out who's doing this." The final straw came on the third day. I was out back chopping wood, Sarah was in the shower, and Ellie burst out of the house dragging her little brother behind her, screaming my name. "It's at the bathroom window." I dropped the axe and ran inside, heart pounding. And there it was, hovering 5 feet from the second-story bathroom window, camera pointed right into the glass, steam still clinging to the panes from Sarah's shower. I caught a glimpse of her face behind the curtain, confused, vulnerable, and that was it. That was the line. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I walked calm to the gun cabinet, pulled out my Remington .308, with a Leupold scope and stepped onto the porch like a man waiting for a guest who's late to dinner. 5 minutes later, here it came, buzzing over the east fence line like a vulture. I took a breath, lined up, and squeezed the trigger. One shot. The thing exploded midair, pieces spinning down into the brush like busted fireworks. The silence afterward was biblical. Luke whispered, "Whoa." Ellie clapped like it was the 4th of July. My heart was pounding not from fear, but from that cold clarity that only comes when you know you're right, when you're defending what's yours. 2 hours later, tires crunched on my gravel driveway. 2 sheriff's cruisers, dust plumes rising behind them. Sarah came out onto the porch, drying her hands on a dish towel while I leaned on the rail, waiting. Deputies stepped out, calm but cautious, hands resting near their belts. Then, right on cue, a white Lexus SUV screeched to a halt behind them. Out popped Karen herself, crisp blazer, clipboard, phone glued to her palm, face twisted between fake concern and fury. She didn't approach. She marched, barking like she owned the place. "Officers, that's the man who shot down my drone. My property. I demand an arrest." The deputies looked at me, then her, then each other. One of them, Harris, local guy I knew from church, nodded like he already had a clue where this was headed. "Mr. Colton, did you discharge a firearm earlier today?" "I did," I said, steady. "On my own land, to take down an unauthorized drone that was hovering near my children and my wife while she was in the shower. I've got footage if you'd like to see." Karen exploded, voice high and sharp. That drone was part of an official HOA aerial safety initiative. It was conducting a visual inspection for community security. "You've committed a felony, destruction of property, reckless endangerment, maybe even domestic terrorism." I actually snorted. "Lady, if I was a terrorist, your drone would have been the last thing I targeted." Sarah elbowed me, whispering, not helping. Still, I showed the deputies the footage. Drones circling the pasture, the chicken coop, the kids' play area, and finally that still frame of the camera lens staring through our bathroom window. Audio of Ellie screaming, "It's watching Mom," right before the shot. Harris studied it, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, do you have any documentation this drone was part of a licensed operation?" She stiffened. "I'm a license. I authorized it myself." The other deputy blinked. "So, no FAA registration, no pilot license, no warrant, nothing?" Karen faltered. "We're not the government. We're the homeowners association. It's community oversight." He frowned. "You realize flying a drone over private land, near children, inside a home, that's a serious privacy violation. Federal airspace doesn't even start until 400 feet, and this thing was way under that." Karen's face turned redder than coals in July. "This is unacceptable. This man is armed, aggressive, unstable. He should be disarmed before he hurts someone." I stepped forward, locked eyes with her. "You flew a camera into my family's privacy. That drone hovered outside my wife's shower. And now you want me disarmed for stopping it." She jabbed a finger at me. "You're a threat to this community, Mr. Colton. You've shown you're willing to use a weapon. What if next time it's a person?" "The only thing I aim at," I said, "is what doesn't belong here." Silence stretched before Harris cleared his throat. "Far as I'm concerned, Mr. Colton acted within his rights. We're not pressing charges. Ma'am, if you want civil litigation, that's your prerogative." Karen vibrated with rage, screeching about suing me, taking my land, stripping my guns, blacklisting my name. Sarah cut her off cold. "We've been here 12 years, Karen. You moved in 9 months ago." The deputies asked her to leave. She stormed off, slammed her door so hard a bird flew from a tree. As she peeled out, I swear a tumbleweed rolled right across her path, like the land itself was mocking her. But I knew she wasn't done. People like Karen don't let go. They escalate. The next morning I called my buddy Dean, a former state trooper turned PI. I told him everything, the drone, the threats, the HOA letters. He said, "Something smells off, and it's not your livestock." He started digging. Turns out the drone was registered, but not with the FAA, registered personally to Karen herself. And all its footage had been synced to a private cloud. Dean got in, and what we found was chilling. Folders, dozens of them, named after addresses. Photos of homes, backyards, even inside through windows. Notes like yard neglected, potential violation, or dog aggressive, possible complaint. And then my folder. Zach Colton, threat category 1. Inside were time-stamped images of me, my wife, my kids. Notes on when our lights went out, when my truck came and went, even one line that froze my blood. Children play unsupervised 3:45 to 5:10. Note, build case for neglect if needed. She was planning to accuse me of neglecting my kids. I took it straight to my lawyer, Janice. Cool, sharp, relentless. She looked through the files, then said, "We're not filing a complaint. We're filing a civil suit, and I'm calling a prosecutor." Within a week, lawsuits were filed, the sheriff's office had a case, and neighbors started calling. Turns out I wasn't the only one. One couple found pictures of their hot tub, another discovered shots of their daughter sunbathing, even a vet down the road labeled unstable veteran, weapon risk. Outrage spread like wildfire. Then the leak hit the news. Drone Gate, the headline screamed. HOA president accused of building a spy network. Karen disappeared from public. The HOA scrambled, issued apologies, then announced her resignation. But I wasn't satisfied with her stepping down. Not after what she'd done. Not after she tried to turn my family into evidence. The trial lasted 3 days, but felt like 3 years. News vans lined the courthouse steps. Protesters waved signs. End HOA tyranny. Inside, Janice delivered the facts, drone footage, logs, HOA emails calling me a destabilizing element. Witnesses testified. Dean explained the technical violations. Parents cried about their daughters being filmed. And I told my story. The moment I saw that drone at Sarah's window, the look on her face, the fear in Ellie's voice. The jury didn't buy Karen's excuses for a second. The verdict: guilty of harassment, invasion of privacy, unauthorized surveillance, misuse of funds. Damages awarded: $275,000. Permanent restraining order. Lifetime ban from HOA leadership. Full audit of the HOA. When the judge read the sentence, the room went quiet. Karen just sat there, jaw tight, eyes hollow. And just like that, her empire of manicured lawns and pastel houses crumbled. 6 months later, peace settled back over the ranch. No more hum of drones. No more glossy envelopes in my mailbox. Sarah sleeps easy again. The kids play without glancing at the sky. And right by the barn, I put up a cedar post, nailed the busted rotor of that drone to it, with a plaque that reads, "In memory of unauthorized flight 0817RI. Even the UPS guy chuckles when he sees it. The HOA's new president, Denise, even brought over cookies as a gesture. I didn't eat them, but I shook her hand. We laughed about the trial. Karen? Last I heard, she moved to Arizona. Guessed Texas was a little too wild for her. The other day, Luke shouted, "Dad, something's flying over the house." My heart jumped. I stepped outside, looked up, and saw a hawk soaring high and free. I tipped my hat. "You're welcome in my airspace, friend." And that was that. So now I've told you my story. You tell me, was I right to pull that trigger, or should I have let it go? Where do we draw the line between community safety and flat-out tyranny? Let me know in the comments. Share your own HOA horror stories, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Because sometimes the fight for freedom doesn't happen in Washington. It happens right in your own backyard.